Hi. Hello everyone. Can you see me and hear me well? Please let me know in the chat. Hey, hey, hey. Can you see me and hear me? Yes. Okay. Perfect. And the sound is okay, right? Yes. I am really glad to hear that. So let's start then. Hello. So my name is Kate. I'm the head of user support and a meteorologist from Windy.app, obviously. I'm really excited to see so many people joining already, and I hope people would come and see this in the recording. A special hello to those watching in the recording. I hope it will be available forever, but let's see. So this is our third webinar, my third webinar. This is very exciting for me. The other two were about, the first one was about 10 most universally useful Windy.app's features, and the second one was about our other app called WindHub. It's for sailors and boaters, and apart from weather and marine forecasts, it has routing and nautical charts. I really hope you watch them someday. You can find them on our YouTube page. Oh, sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, so why are we here today? Because on our first webinar, people asked for the basics a lot. So I felt like I had to do this webinar, but I couldn't fit all the basics into one and not overwhelming webinar, so I had to split it into parts. I will do a part 2, maybe even a part 3. So the basics. What is Windy.app? It's a weather app for outdoors, and I mean outdoors in a very broad sense. We have kiteboarders, surfers, sailors, boaters, but also paragliders and snowboarders, farmers, truck drivers, drone pilots, and so on and so on. Could you tell me what kind of outdoor activity do you do? I will look in the chat. I'm interested in who came. Scuba diving, boating, sailing, wing foiling. Yes, we have. Okay. All sorts of outdoor activities. Well, I'm really glad to see people from all walks of life, all sorts of outdoor activities, and this webinar should be useful for all those activities. As I said, it's going to be basic. So what other basic information you need to know about Windy.app? It has been around for more than 8 years. It has more than 20 million users, and we've even won an award from the World Meteorological Organization. So what's inside the app? Of course, weather and marine forecasts, including tides and currents and swells, but also real-time winds from weather stations all over the world and the weather archive. We present this information in 2 main formats, the weather map and the spot forecast, or the forecast for a particular location. So today we're going to focus on the spot forecast, on the basics, because this is what almost any user looks up when he or she comes to our app. So I will have to stick to the basics, but you don't have to. You can ask any questions in the chat about Windy.app or about the weather forecast. My colleagues will answer some of them in the chat, and others they will collect for me to answer at the end of the webinar. Okay, so yeah, I was going to say that in the last on our first webinar, people were very active and asking questions, and I wanted to encourage you to do the same during this webinar, but I see that you don't need any encouragement. You're already very active. That's perfect. Okay, so the plan for today is to see how you can find a spot if you know its name, then set up the spot forecast, then read the forecast, of course, and then I will show you how to check the real-time winds before you go out. Then I will give you one tip. I did want to give 3 tips, but then I saw my presentation going bigger and bigger, and I thought that would be too much, so I'll save other tips for parts 2 and 3. And then I'm going to answer your questions and make a few announcements about Windy.app. Okay, yeah, so I did want to mention that I will be talking about both the free and the pro features in the app, and I will try to highlight where the free features are enough and where the pro can give you some extra accuracy or save you time. And just a spoiler alert, both the free and the pro versions have many great features. I'm sure some of you already know that. So I would really love you to follow along, and if you are currently using the free version, that's okay. You can I have prepared a promo code for you, so my colleagues will post a link in the chat that will lead you to the promo code, or you can find it in the description of this live stream, and then you will follow the link and see this page, and then you're going to choose the way you want to log in, and then you log in this way in the app. Yeah, I was going to ask, do you use the free or the pro version, just to get a sense of who is here? Okay, so it's sort of like 40, 50, 40, 60. Okay. Well, that's perfect. So this is the plan for today. I will try to not rush, to go step by step, because this is the feedback I got after the first webinar. And as I said, you're welcome to ask questions. I will be using the screenshots from the iOS version of the app, but the Android is very similar. So I wanted to ask who is using the Android version and who's using the iOS version, and maybe some of you are using both. Could you let me know in the chat? Android, iOS, okay. I'm looking at my phone to see what you're saying in the chat. Okay. So it's both Android and iOS. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so let's go. We're going to dive into what we have gathered here for today. So the spot search. This one is easy, relatively. You open the main page of the app, and then you click on the search icon. And then let's imagine that for this webinar, I'm going to pretend that a friend of a friend recommended me a spot called Cape Lookout in the United States. And this is what I get when I type in Cape Lookout. I get several spots. But one of them is actually not a spot, but a weather station. You will understand it because there's a different icon. It's called a wind. We call this a wind turbine icon. So this is definitely not the spot I'm looking for. And from a friend of a friend, I heard that this is a popular fishing spot. So I see that the top one is a fishing spot, and it has been added to favorites 771 times. So this tells me it's a popular spot. Now, I chose fishing spot for this webinar by accident, you could say, because I was just looking. I just needed a spot for an example. I needed a spot with good conditions. But what I'm going to do further, it applies to any outdoor activity, not just fishing. Okay, so I'm going to jump to the forecast for this spot. And the first thing I'm going to do, this is what I will see. The first thing I want to know is which weather parameters did I get. And I click on the legend here on the left, and then it will expand and show me exactly what each row says. So I got kite size, wind direction, wind speed, wind gusts, air temperature, clouds and precipitation. There are no clouds and precipitation in the forecast at the moment, but there is a row for that. Sea temperature and swell. This is quite good, but what if I don't want these parameters? Or, for example, I want to add tides. I want to see tides as well. Well, the reason I got this set of parameters and not the other one is because for this spot it's set to the kite preset profile. This means that we have devised a set of parameters and the order of parameters for kite surfing through our research. But you can change it at any time. You just click on that icon and then you see what other preset profiles we have. And we have a lot. We have 13 preset profiles, and like for windsurfing, for boating, for snowboarding, for all sorts of above ground activities like paragliding and flying a drone, but also for foiling, diving, and cycling. There's also a light profile, which is for just general weather. You can also create a custom profile. So out of all of these, only the Fish Pro and the custom profiles are in the Pro version and others are free. So each one has a preview and a list of parameters, so you can look and see which one matches your case the best. I would go with the boat, and this is what I get. You see the view of the forecast changed. And you could do that as many times as you need. You can change it on every spot. Okay, so we have our list of parameters, and the next order of business is choosing a weather model. And here you might ask, why do I need to do this? Well, because even though we have the weather models that come from top weather forecasting centers all around the world, meaning that they have the highest accuracy possible, depending on your location, the accuracy can be slightly different. So if you need higher accuracy, or you know that your spot has difficult weather patterns, then you might need to choose the weather model and not use the default. How do you choose this? I have highlighted this orange area. We call this the model picker because you can pick a model. And here you can see the best model. I will explain what it is later. The compare mode, and then you will see a list of all available models on this spot. It would be at least 3 models, but then for some regions there are 7 or 5 available models. So if you switch to the compare mode, you will see the forecast from all available models on one screen, like I'm showing here. So each line corresponds to a certain weather model. But I'm not going to get into this today because it's a little bit more than basic, but I will definitely talk about it sometime in the future webinars. And I have a video on this channel about the compare mode, which you can also check out. So another thing, the best model, this actually means the most accurate model for this exact spot. How do we know? How do we calculate it? Well, we have forecasts from all available models, and then we have actual wind observations, and we compare them for 10 days in a row, and then we see which model was closer to the reality, and this would be called the best model on this location. So I know this can be overwhelming, So I made a sort of a diagram or a cheat sheet for you to look at when you need to make a decision what model to pick. So it depends on the level of accuracy you need now. And it might as well be that the basic level of accuracy, which doesn't mean bad accuracy, it's just like a baseline accuracy. It's already very high. It's all very, very good. So if basic is good for you, then you choose the default GFS 27 weather model. If you need a higher accuracy, for example, if you need to drive to the spot for a while, and if the forecast was wrong, then you're going to lose time. Then in this case, you would want a slightly higher accuracy. And in this case, you're going to ask yourself, do I know the best weather model for this spot? For example, you've lived on some spot for many years and you just know that GFS always gets it right, or ECMWF always gets it right. So in this case, you know which model works better, or you have asked someone who lived there for a while and they told you. If you don't know that, then I suggest you use the best model, as I explained earlier. And if you need the highest level of accuracy, for example, this is more, for example, of a safety situation maybe, or your outdoor activity is very sensitive to the kind of wind. For example, you have a certain kite which can only fly in such and such wind. So in that case, you would want to know exactly the weather. So for my case, I would say that if a friend of a friend recommended me this spot, I barely know anything about it, and I certainly don't know what the best model is for this spot, so I'm going to go with the recommended option. I'm going to see what Windy tells me. Okay, so this is me saying hello to those of you who have just joined us. My name is Kate. I'm the head of user support and a meteorologist in Windy.app. Today I'm talking about the basics of how to check the weather forecast for a spot, and I'm actually halfway through. I am mentioning both the free and the pro version features, so if you don't have pro, I have prepared a promo code for you. My colleagues are gonna send the link to the chat, and also you can find the link to the promo code in the description of this video. This is what you're going to see when you open it, and then you're going to choose your login, and then you're going to log in the same way in the app. Okay, so we are done we chose the set of parameters, we have our preset profile, we have our weather model chosen, the best model for the spot. And now I'm going to read the forecast. I'm going to walk you through how I recommend reading the forecast. Now for this webinar, I'm going to say I need winds of 5 meters per second or above, and then not too gusty, and I need relatively calm seas. So this means low swell height. And this is what I'm going to do first. First, I look at the windy bar. It's highlighted in an orange. Forgot. So it's highlighted in an orange form. Sorry. And what I'm looking for is the green color. The green color means it's more than 5 meters per second. If I don't see green color, I would just go and look for another spot. I will not even bother looking into the forecast. So I do see, let's say I'm going out tomorrow. I was preparing on Tuesday, so on Wednesday we say I'm looking for the forecast on Wednesday. And it is indeed green, so I'm in luck. Rectangle. Thank you guys. Okay, so this means I can proceed to the next step, which is I look at the forecast and I see that, yes, the wind is indeed above 5 meters per second, because sometimes when you look at the windy bar, you can mistake the time of day. You can see some nice green colors, but then when you look closer, it turns out it's the wind at night. That's a disappointment. So you would want to check when exactly is your green time. So I see that indeed it is at the daylight time, but I want to look at this into details. I want to see an hourly forecast. So I click on this 3-hour thing and it turns into 1 hour thing. So every hour there is a forecast. And now I'm gonna look from top to bottom, because my most important parameters are at the top. But I see that the winds are indeed above 5 meters per second. The gusts, the next row is the gusts, 7 meters per second, still okay. And then the swell is at the bottom. It's relatively small, something I could take. And then I see the tides, but I'm not gonna go into tides now, but I have them. It's the high tide. Good. So I decide that I'm gonna go between 16 and 19, or 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. You could see that after 20 hours or 8 p.m., the timeline turns dark blue, which means it's past sunset, which is a good thing to know. So I want to get out of the water at least an hour before the sunset. I don't want to get caught in the dark. So the next thing I am doing is I want to click through each hour, and then I want to see how the winds and the swell and the coastline are working together. Because, for example, for wind, I would want to know if it's offshore, onshore, or sideshore. It could be important for my sport. And just a general, how are they gonna be like this or like this? I want to know. So I can click through each hour. You see, it becomes sort of gray, and then I will, on this satellite image, I will see my forecast. This is called the wind and the swell rows, in case I forgot to mention. Okay. The last thing I'm going to do today, let's say I'm looking for the forecast for tomorrow, I'm going to add this spot to favorites, because tomorrow morning I want to check that the forecast is indeed what it is supposed to be. So I'm going to click on that star at the top, and then it's going to appear on the main screen of the app as a favorite spot, with the windy bar, by the way, and with the precipitation also. So it sort of gives you a brief understanding of what to expect in the next 7 days. Okay, so just a summary of what we did today so far. We chose the best profile. We chose the weather forecasting model. Then we looked at the windy bar. Then we switched to the forecast table, and from 3-hour forecast table we went to 1-hour forecast table. Then we checked the wind and swell rows, and then added the spot to favorites. So tomorrow morning, or on the morning that I go out, I will click on the forecast for this spot and then check that nothing has changed dramatically. Let's say it didn't. I got lucky. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check the real-time winds. I am lucky because in this case there is a weather station very close by, like 2.1 miles, and I'm going to click on this widget and I'm going to see what the wind has been for the past 24 hours. And I see that it is indeed what it has been in the forecast. And it's good to know, so this particular one has no trend. It's not rising or falling, but if it is, it's a good indication of what the process is like. For example, if you see the wind has started to die down, then probably you might not want to go. But if you see that it's rising and it's good for you, then you would go. Okay, so wow, we got through the most of what I have for you today. Now I'm gonna give you one tip because, so as I said before, I wanted to give you 3 tips, but then my presentation got just so big and overwhelming that I decided to save it for later. So the number 1 tip, one and the only, is to register in the app. Why would you do that? Because if something happens to your phone, and we have very outdoorsy users that sometimes drop their phones in the water and do other things to their phones. So if you are registered in the app, you can then log in the same way on a different phone, and then you will see your settings, you will see your favorites, and you will have your pro status if you had one. So I would really recommend you do that. It's not hard. So you open the side menu, you click on the login at the top, and then you create an account several ways. And then you can use your login both on Android and iOS devices, which is, I think, good. Okay, now it's time for questions. I'm gonna see what my colleagues where is the questions for me? Sorry, you can catch a breath. I'm waiting for the questions from my colleagues. Don't see any yet, but let's see. Okay, I see one question I'm going to answer, but then maybe my colleagues are going to give me some more. Is it possible to see historical data for the weather station more than 1 day back? It is possible on iOS at the moment. If you click on the weather station page, this one, and then you say show forecast, then you will see a white bold line on the compare chart, and then you're going to see 10 days of the wind, of the data from the weather station, wind data. Okay. Is stand-up paddleboarding a sport you cover? Well, I would say that we cover almost any outdoor activity because we have all the core weather forecasts, meaning wind, gusts, temperature, rain, and so on. But then we have some specialized parameters for the outdoors, like swells and currents and so on. So you can just construct a preset profile, like a custom profile, if none of the existing match your needs, and then you can just go ahead and use that. I know for a fact that many stand-up paddleboarding users use our app because they contact their user support and they ask questions. So definitely Windy.app supports this sport. Okay. Where can I learn to use the app better and understand it better? Are there other videos? Yes. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we have 2 webinars. One of them you might want to check out, especially because it's a universal one with 10 most useful features in Windy.app. but also we have, I would encourage you to check out our YouTube channel. You will see some videos with me talking about how to improve your chances of having a more accurate forecast, how to read the forecast, but also if you have ideas on in which format you would like to learn about the app. For example, you enjoy 1-minute videos, or you enjoy I don't know, like some graphics, or you enjoy reading long FAQs or something else, you are very welcome to contact our user support and let us know, because we are constantly thinking, how do we explain Windy.app to all our users? What is the best way to approach the different features we have? Because we have a lot. We have like more than 10, maybe 15 pro features and maybe more free features in the app. Okay. What do the colors on the winds mean? So the color represents wind speed. Green is more than 5 meters per second and so on. Let's see. If I can. So if you, I don't have a good illustration for that. But if you open the map in Windy.app, and then at the top you will see the colors and the numbers of the wind speed it corresponds to. Okay. Okay. Do you regularly review the ongoing accuracy of the models? Yes, we do that. So the accuracy of the models is for 10 days, but then we recalculate it every day. Okay, I think this is all we have time for. I'll definitely go through all of the things you wrote today, and this will help me prepare for part 2 and 3 of this webinar that is going to come up. So what we have left is just a few announcements. I hope, well, at least you'll find something that you're gonna like. So number 1, we are adding pro features to our website. This is what we have been asked to do for a while, and this is still very early days. We only have a few pro features. We have the data from ECMWF and Icon 7 in the app. If you have pro status, you can log in on the website at the top, in the top right corner, and then you'll have access. There is no option to pay on the website yet, but we are working on it. The next thing is our iOS team is working on the Apple Watch and the phone widget. I'm sure we've had quite a lot of requests for the Apple Watch, so I hope that this would be available to everyone soon, maybe the next release or the one after that. So it's gonna come soon. Okay. Is everyone happy about the Apple Watch? I hope so. Apple Watch, yes. Okay. Wonderful. I forgot to mention. So this new development, this announcement comes with a request. Could you please check it out and give us some feedback? Maybe there are particular features that you want to ask us to add. Please feel free to contact us with a feedback form. Your feedback could actually make a difference. The same thing with the Apple Watch. As soon as it becomes available, we're going to advertise it, of course, in the app to let you know that it is in fact available. We would need your feedback, because this is still, like, I like to say, fresh out of the oven, something very new. The next thing is we have added an arome, the French weather model, to the map on Android. We have added the water temperature and ocean currents to Windy.app on iOS. And we want to know if you guys have found it useful. Do we need to add it to Android app as well? Please let us know. And the last thing is, if you like to look at the app and give your feedback, maybe you like to criticize, that would be great, because we're looking for people to whom we can come when we have something new. For example, we have a prototype of a new feature, or we have some ideas for a new design or content, and then we really need to know what our users think, because we might love it and our users might not understand it because we didn't do a good job, or we don't love it, but we need your input. So I'm asking you if you want to help, and if you like to participate in Windy.app's life, please fill out the form so that we know how to contact you and what are you willing to do. And then the link to this form is in the description of this live stream, and also my colleagues will post it in the chat. Okay. Wow. Guys, this is all for today. I am really excited how this came out. Can you let me know if there was something new for you? Was I going slow enough? How are you feeling in general? Okay. I'm reading your comments. Okay. It's always a pleasure to do this, a webinar, because you guys are just such a great audience, very encouraging. So there will be parts 2, maybe part 3, and then I have another idea for a webinar, maybe with a guest from the users. So I'll see you next time, and thank you for watching. Bye.